Hello everyone and welcome to my first review on the channel. This is a review of Need for Speed Unbound, and what we're going to do is we're going to split single player and online because my thoughts on those two modes are completely polar opposite experiences. So we're going to focus on single player first, and then later on we'll dive into a bit of online. So with single player, I have absolutely been enjoying it, and the biggest factor for me in any racing game is progression. You always want to have that sense of feeling that you're progressing towards something after you unlock the previous thing. So it's like, okay, I'm working towards this full week of content. We have, chances to win free cars over here. We have chances to get some extra money here. The occasional pop-up of random challenges, delivering a hot car to somebody while getting chased by the cops, or doing a mission for the garage and delivering a car that was serviced by Rondell. Rondell, I think, is the name, hopefully. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But there's always something to do during the entire campaign. And you don't feel like you're getting bored because you have, like, the best car already. You're always upgrading, you're always progressing to something. And a lot of racing games nowadays are failing to have that sense of progression. A lot of games is just like, here's your supercar, you're good to go, there's no point playing anymore. But with the story mode here in Need for Speed Unbound, you're always working towards something, you're always upgrading a car, you're switching to different cars, tweaking them, going to the customization, making it your car, which the customization is also a very well thought out thing, at least for me. I know a lot of other people might not like it as much, just because it's maybe limited to them. But for me, it seems like it does have the right amount, because you don't feel overwhelmed when you are customizing the car, and then it can get you back into the action without spending a god-awful amount of time customizing vehicles. But you can, of course, do that with wraps, paint, bodywork, changing the hood, the spoiler, the fenders, the bumpers, just everything on the car is customizable, which is nice. As for the story, I mean, it's pretty decent so far. I'm going to be honest, I haven't been paying attention too much to it. I've just been enjoying the progression of going through, making money, upgrading cars, all that kind of stuff. And I've muted the dialogue just for the fact that the racing dialogue gets so repetitive so quickly. It's great in the beginning, but about an hour in, you start hearing the repetitiveness of the dialogue between the racers and the cop radio chatter. It just gets stale very quickly. But it does have a decent story from what I've seen from cutscenes, whatever. But I'm not really here in a Need for Speed game for a story. I'm here to race and have some fun, which you do have that in the story mode here. And of course there are collectibles to find. There's bare little statue things that you can get to, jumps, speed traps, drifting zones, all that kind of stuff. And before we get into online, for some reason, this is one thing I do not understand why they made it this way. So, if you complete challenges, collect collectibles, do jumps and all that kind of stuff, and you get those money rewards in online, that money only stays in online and you don't get that money also in single player. There's no cross progression between your single player save and your online save. They're basically individual games, and then that's just where the online portion of it starts tanking with my happiness of it, because it's just, I don't know. But anyways, sticking to single player, make sure if you do play this, do all the collectibles, the artwork, the challenges, the drift zones, and all that in single player. Because if you complete those in multiplayer, you don't get any of that money, and money is a very important thing for progression in single player, so you want to save all that kind of stuff for where it's more important, because honestly, online is not that difficult to make money. Another part that I do enjoy from single player as well is the fact of the risk factor. That is such an enjoyable thing. It's like, okay, I have $50,000 that are at risk right now. I have a level 5 heat going on, so you got the SWAT, you got the Camaros, you got the Corvettes chasing you all down. The cop chases are very adrenaline filling. They're an absolute blast. I do love those. But the risk factor amplifies the whole progression. It's like, okay, if I get caught, I'm losing this $70,000, and we got to work on the next day to make up for it. So it's just, the risk factor is a very exciting portion of the game as well. It's like, all right, got this money, but I'm going to go for this other $20,000 reward event we're going to do. You know, it's just going through that strategy of what you want to do really helps with the progression as well. Lastly, since it is a driving game, I'll talk about the handling. To me, I like it. Sometimes it feels a little weird, though, because if you're driving the same car, you kind of get used to it. You know how it's going to handle around corners and everything. But in this game, it feels like it's always random. Like, even if it's a dry track or whatever, it's just... Sometimes the car acts differently 1% of the time than it does 99% of the time. You know, it's just... I don't know what they did with that. It might be some bugginess in it, but it doesn't happen too often to really interfere with the enjoyment of driving these cars. And of course, with the customization, you can really change the way the car's handling, you know, with different tires, make it a more of a drifting car, make it more of a stick-to-the-road type of car, off-road, all kinds of stuff. So you can really suit the car to what you want it to do, but it still feels like it kind of reverts back every so often to something different. Like, it's really weird to explain, but if you play for a bit, you'll kind of notice that happen, and you're wondering, why all of a sudden are you doing this weird thing in this turn and really spinning out for no reason when you don't do it any other time? You know, it's just... Hopefully that makes sense. But overall, I like the handling. I like the visuals of the... Because I know the visuals are a big thing as well that people do not like regarding the, you know, animated smoke and all that kind of stuff. I think it works out. It really... I got used to it as I kept playing it. For whatever reason, they said that you could turn it off, which isn't true. I'm not sure why they said you could turn it off. The only thing that's close to turning off the effects is one specific effect, where it's just like a simple, more realistic smoke, without any of the flashiness or animations and stuff. But you really can't fully turn it off, so I'm not sure why they said you can, or why they couldn't have just had an option to turn it off if you really didn't want anything, but who knows. So overall, I would give the single player side of this game, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's the right number for it. It's not a racing game that's completely blowing everything else out of the water by being something completely different, but the biggest thing for me is the progression. Because if you get the best car in the game in the beginning, it just makes a racing game, very, very stale. So I like that they made the progression a key part of it. So you're always feeling like you're progressing towards something. You're not wasting your time continuing to play the single player. So an 8 out of 10 is perfect for this game. At least single player. Now, we'll get to the part I do not like. Moving on to online. And I think the best quote for online in this game is a joyride to boredom. That is all you're going to have from online, and I'm not really sure why they added online, to be completely honest with you. Because as stated before, you get no cross progression, so if you complete challenges and earn money from those, it stays in your online world. The online part has nothing to do with single player. The cars you unlock, the cars you buy, nothing. So we have no progression that really means anything in online. The online world has no cops. It is the most barren world possible. There is traffic, but it feels like it's even lighter than it is in single player, which makes me laugh that people are saying they want traffic to be toned down in online, which, no, let's not do that. Let's increase the traffic, get cops in here. But even if that happens, I don't know why anybody would spend time in online. There's only a 4-player party maximum, I believe. So far, online has no cross-progression between your single-player world and your online world. You have no cops. You have a very low server count for the lobby. And then on top of all of that, already, we have the smallest selection of racing events I've ever seen in an online thing. You could probably spend 40 minutes or less, and you would have already gone through every event that is available in online. That is it. I think there's maybe 20 tracks. Or somewhere around there. At least that's what it feels like, because you're always racing through the same thing. And the most disappointing part is, there's some endurance ones, you know, some longer tracks. But I'd say 90% of the tracks are very short little circuits that finish up within a minute and 30, minute 40 seconds. If you have a fast car. And then that's it. That, what I've just explained, is the online experience. That's it. It is the absolute polar opposite experience to single player. Single player is a blast, it's really nice. Online is just like a forgotten child on the side of the road that they're like, you know what? We're gonna add it just so we can say we have it. But there's not gonna be anything really to do, and it's gonna be a waste of time for anybody to spend any time in the online portion of it. It's just such a disappointment. It really, really is. They could have done so much more with it, but they didn't. And now I'm hoping that, because I know Heat got a lot of heat because of the post-launch content. You know, there wasn't really much of anything. So now I'm hoping they're not just going to be like, oh, hey, the cops have entered online. That's not going to get people to come back. I am not wasting any time after the little bit of time I spent in online. Just because cops are there. Like, it's just, they can honestly just ditch that whole mode at this point. I mean, I would have rather seen the multiplayer get incorporated into single player, where you and a friend or friends could play through the story mode together. You know, that would have been a lot more enjoyable, I think, compared to whatever this online mode is that has nothing to do. You don't make any money for your single player part, so it's just like, why would anybody, any player, spend time in this mode? It's ridiculous. And last but not least about online, honestly, anything below or above S class, so S class, S plus, are not very fun for beginners, new players, or anything like that, because somebody can already buy the best car, and there's thousands of yards in front of you. It's pointless. So if you do end up playing online, make sure you stick to the lower classes, because those are a lot more competitive, they're a lot more fun, because those people that just race down the track with their S plus 400 class car, nothing's fun about that at all. So my overall rating for online is a 2 out of 10. It is miserable, it's lonely, it's boring, and there's no reason to waste any of your gaming time playing this mode. And there we have it, everybody. That is my quick little review here of Need for Speed Unbound. 8 out of 10 for the single player, 2 out of 10. It could be even 1 out of 10, honestly. I mean, that online is abysmal. It shouldn't even have been added to the game with its current state. Like, there's nothing of a factor that makes it enjoyable. So, hopefully you guys enjoy taking a little look at a review from me. Be sure to let me know what you guys think of it. And all that good stuff. So, there we go. Need for Speed Unbound review is complete.